Good morning again to everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Staci Blake. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a regional sales director for Premier Preneed Marketing. Today, I just want to discuss and have a conversation about how do you work your files. I feel that we all struggle once in a while with canceled appointments, no shows, and we don't know how to fill those. And there's leads that are in our files that we can continually be working every week to kind of help eliminate some of those ebb and flows we have in our sales and appointments. And then I just ask that you please save your questions for the end, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Let me see if I can get my technology to work now. Now it's not going to work now. Hang on one second. I apologize. Well, there's a PowerPoint, but it's not working. Hang on one second. There we go. Just want to give you a little bit of my background in Preneed to let you know that I've been where you are. I've been in the trenches, and I've been in Preneed for over 17 years. I originally started selling Preneed on the cemetery side and helping families with Preneed, but also at-need situations. I managed a couple of cemeteries for a while. They got my life license and started Preneed funeral selling. Then I worked my way up to a regional director working with a Preneed marketer, which I absolutely love. When I sold Preneed, we weren't partnered with a marketer. So each of you are very lucky to have Premier for marketing and support. So what I'm going to share with you are tools and techniques that I used in the field. So this has been a trial and error that I used in the field, and not that there's not additional ways to do to work your old leads and your files. But I just want you to know that I do have background, and like I said, been in the trenches where you guys have been, where we've had, weeks where you've had a lot of appointments, and then you've had some that are, you've not had as many, or you've had a lot of cancellations or no shows. But there are ways to be able to kind of help. You're not going to eliminate those completely, but I want to be able to help you find ways to make those weeks much better than what they could have been. I'm just covering Premier CRS. I don't know how many of you have actually used our CRS, but if you do not, this is a very important tool that everyone should be utilizing. I'm just going to touch base on this just a little bit because I feel like this is a very important tool that you need to utilize as an agent to keep you organized, keeping your appointments in one area and all your communication with your families. And like I said, if you're currently not using the Premier CRS, please reach out to your regional director and have them give you a demo. It's very user-friendly, and it will keep you on track, and no family is going to fall through the crack. Not only will it help you keep you organized, but you also have additional resources on there that I'll show you here in just a few minutes on what we're going to talk about with some letters. This tool is completely at no cost to the agent or the funeral home, which you do not see that with different marketers. So why not utilize a free tool that's going to be able to also give you resources and keep you organized? Okay, work your files. So I think it's very easy for us to, when we've met with a family, had an appointment, or we've had a direct mail lead, or we've done a seminar, and family set appointments and then they've canceled, you just think that lead is dead. Okay, it is not dead. It may be dead right now, but it's still a good lead. Okay, and just because a lead didn't fund or you couldn't get a hold of a lead to set an appointment at that time doesn't mean it is a dead lead, unless a person or family tells you they are not interested, or we all get those don't call again. That lead is still good. One thing is to always remember, we don't know what is going on in their lives at that time, then there may be reasons why they can't set that appointment or they can't fund at that time. Just set it aside and keep working it. Okay, so we're going to talk about ways to work old files, because I know sometimes it's kind of intimidating. You don't know where to start, like you don't have a reason to call those leads. But I'm going to show you ways that I used to do it that I think it's very important to make sure that you do just a soft touch with these leads, okay? So how do you approach old leads? Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. With old leads, I feel like it's very important to start with a soft touch approach. So I suggest letters with a follow-up phone call. Now, this should be a habit that you create that you're doing every week. Meaning if you send out, let's say 50 letters, and I'm going to show you samples here in just a few minutes. We have sample letters that you have at your fingertips that you can utilize for each lead source. So it's tailored to each lead source that you have. And then I say just do it enough. I used to send 50 letters out a week. And then in 2 weeks, I would follow up with a phone call. Did you receive the letter? So it gives you an excuse and kind of breaks down that fear some people have on calling leads when you feel like you don't have a reason to call them. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few sample letters. And once again, you have access to these letters if you use our Premier CRS system. So it gives you another reason, and I keep harping on this Premier CRS, but it's a phenomenal tool. Another reason for you to make sure you get with your regional director and get a demo on our CRS. Okay, so give me 1 second here to get a sample letters. You get to see all the fun stuff on my computer. So we all have unfunded files, right? I mean, that seems to be a big lead source for us. So we get to a point sometimes we get kind of discouraged and we just put it to the side and don't follow back up with them. But and these letters are actually on our CRS and the materials that you have access to if you use our CRS. But like our prearranged not funded, it's just a very soft, and I'm not going to read each letter to you, but it just shows you the soft touch that this letter has with families. So they're getting this letter, then you're going to do a follow-up call. Because the situation, why they couldn't fund at that time, you may not know because you may not have been the agent that actually met with them, and that's okay. This way you can still get in front of the family because maybe now they can afford it, or you can talk to them about maybe how prices have gone up. You know, you can have that conversation so you don't feel like you're calling them for no reason. Okay, so that's just one of the letters. We have, oops, hold on 1 second here. We have undecided letter. We have, how many of you have, you were previously served families? I don't know how many of you have aftercare programs, but sometimes it's hard to, at the time of the death, some families don't want to meet, and that's okay. This is a letter that you can reach out to families and not just, you know, because there's just not one person that's affected by the death of that individual, right? There could be not just their surviving spouse, but their children. They may have brothers and sisters, other people that, you know, that have been touched by this or been affected by this death that we could reach out to that we're not helping. So that's another lead source that you could be working on top of everything else that you're working each week. Okay. And this really isn't a bunch of extra work. It probably seems like it at first, but once you get organized, it's a system. And once you make it a habit, it's like clockwork. You know, you got to do it. Okay. Or you may have a basic informative letter, I'm sorry, just giving them a little bit of information on, you know, they may have called in and asked a little information about Preneed, but wouldn't set an appointment. Here's a way that you can follow back up with that family and try to get back in front of them and actually set a face-to-face appointment. Okay. And like I said, these are just a few letters that we do have. We have a trade show letter. You know, how many of you have gone to senior fairs or senior expos and everybody puts their name and address in for a drawing? We know most of them want to do it for the drawing, but we're trying to do it to meet with them, to show them and educate them on the importance of pre-planning. Okay. Well, if they want to answer the phone to set an appointment, we have a trade show letter that, you know, you can reach out to them, which is also a soft touch. And I'll then follow up. You know, we met at the senior expo and I sent you a letter a couple weeks ago. Just want to make sure that you did receive it. And we've got a referral letter, which we're going to talk about just a little bit, touch base on that here in a little bit on that. But I think that with older leads, that it's much easier to send something like a soft touch with any, you know, the letter, depending on the lead source. and then following up with a phone call. You can follow up within a week. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. I just had it always set up that way. But I don't think it should go any further than 2 weeks. It's very important that you stay on top of this. It's just like aftercare. We get so busy with appointments, which is great. That's what we want. But if we set this aside, this gets put on the back burner, then that's when you notice then when you don't have such a good week that you could have been filling that up with some of these old leads appointments. So it's just very important to set time on your schedule. Even if you have to just, I used to mark it out in my appointment book. I'm still old school with the appointment books. And I would highlight my time in the days that I wanted to make sure I sent letters out and making phone calls. And I would highlight it in green because that meant that was appointments and money for me, right? Hopefully, that's the goal. So you've got to schedule time to do this or it will get put on the back burner when you get busy. Okay, that's just like making your regular phone calls to set appointments. Okay, so let me get back to, hang on one second here. All right. We're just going to touch base on referrals a little bit. Referrals, we're going to actually have a webinar in August, and don't hold me to this, but I think it's August the 18th. It's going to be a webinar, I'm sorry, on just referrals. But I wanted to touch base on referrals because I feel as agents, this is something we miss, and I just want to kind of give you something to work on before the webinar in August. I think we get to the point where we've met with this family. We've been with them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes, and we get the paper signed. We're so excited we did a sale, and then we forget to ask for referrals. There's many different ways to kind of trigger yourself to remember to ask for referrals. I don't care if you have to put, you know, when you're doing, if you have a pre-need file with their paperwork, if you have to slip a piece of paper that says ask for referrals or referrals and make a sign-up sheet for them to fill out, just to remind you to trigger your memory to ask them for referrals. This quote that's right here is one that I always had by my desk because I'm like any other agent. You know, I got excited, I got a sale, and then once they walked out the door, then I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to ask for the referral, right? So I had this by my desk at all times. It says referrals make the difference between successful sales and outstanding sales. And this is so true because a referral, as you all know, is more than a warm lead, right? I mean, you just helped a family, a couple, pre-plan their funerals, and it's going to help them and their families at the worst day of their lives. Why would you not want to help other people that they know, neighbors, friends, family? And they know people that need to be educated. And I always presented it as, who else do you know that needs to be educated on the importance of pre-planning the funeral, just like you did for your family today? I just made it very simple because at that point you've made that connection with them and they are happy that they've done it. They may have been stressed coming in to plan their funeral. As we know, no one likes to come in and plan their funeral, but they are leaving feeling much better about it and realized it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. Okay, so they're going to want to share that information with friends, family, neighbors, whoever it is. They know people that need to be educated on the importance of pre-planning. So I always had this quote just to remind myself to ask. And I did other things in my paperwork, but this is just one quote that I reminded myself. Okay. Let's see here. Do you ask for referrals? And if you do you ask every time? Sometimes I think it's easy when you feel really comfortable with a family when they've funded and you feel comfortable asking for referrals. But then if someone doesn't fund, you're kind of a little bit, even though you don't want to admit it, you're a little defeated because you don't know why. You try to go through every objection with them and they're still not funding for some reason. But you still need to ask for referrals because even if they don't fund and you ask for referrals, that family is going to feel much better, believe it or not, that they can give referrals to you, but also, well, they care about me and my friends and family. It's not just about the sale. Okay, doesn't mean you're not going to get them to, you're not going to close on them at a later date. Okay, so always remember, if they're funding or not funding, to ask for referrals. This is a warm lead and it's free. As we all know, leads are very expensive. So why would we not want to put this in our lead basket, as I call it, as we continue to work? I always loved getting additional leads that were easier to call because I could use somebody else's name that I just met with. So I encourage you to make this a habit. However you need to help remind yourself to do to ask for referrals. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with, if you have a pre-need file, make up a sign up sheet and just put referrals at the top. That's going to remind you to ask every time. Okay, if they don't give you any, that's okay. If they give you one, that's better than what you had before that, right? So one referral is great. Something else I used to do, whether they fund it or not, I would write a little handwritten thank you card and put my business card in there so they could use it as a referral. They ran into somebody they knew, they could pass it out. So those are just continuous ways you can do that. And like I said, we do have a webinar coming up, and I think it's August 18th. So make sure you watch for that and attend. And I'll give you a little bit of additional scripting for you to use. And I want you to try to make it a habit before this next webinar in August on referrals, and see how many referrals you can get in the meantime, okay? And like I said, here's a simple script to help you adapt to your style. You can't sound like a robot, as we all know. We want to make it conversational and make it sound like how you would talk to someone about getting a referral. So here's just an example, okay? Mary and Bob, which of your friends or family members would benefit from the process we just completed today? I would like to share my role and how I can help them. That may be your style, it may not be, and that's okay. But and just like I told you, something I used to always say is just, I would congratulate them for pre-planning their funeral, and then I'd say, Bob and Mary, who else do you know? What friends, family, neighbors do you know that need to be educated on the importance of pre-planning their funeral and do exactly what you've done for your family? Because that was more my style, okay? You can prompt them with specific, like when you're doing your warm-up, you're going to gather names and family and friends, their church, their social network. You can bring those names back up. And if they can't think of any, that's okay. Send them home with that referral sheet and tell them, once you think of some people, write them down. I'll come by and get the referral sheet when you're ready. Just give me a call. Don't make it high pressure at all, because they don't, nobody likes high pressure. And one of the things I always tell people also, just to add to that, like the social network or their churches, this is opportunities for you to also get additional community presentations. Churches always are looking for people to do presentations. So you want to find out who do you need to talk to about that? Or they may belong to the VFW or American Legion. You want to find out who you need to talk to set up a presentation, okay? So utilize all of these sources that are free to you while you got the family in front of you. And one thing that this last bullet point that I think is very, very important is, don't be afraid to be quiet and let them think. I think we all have gone through this at some point in our careers, where even when you're presenting, single pay or multi-pay options, we talk, because if they're quiet, we're thinking they're trying to talk themselves out of it, and that's not it. They're trying to figure out what's going to fit best for them or their budget, right? The same with referrals. Just be busy doing your paperwork and let them be, just because they're quiet doesn't mean that they don't want to do it. So that's a big key. Just don't be afraid to be quiet and let them think, okay? I sure hope this has helped you some. And like I said, this is not the only way to work old leads, but always know you should always be working old leads, okay? Like I said, don't put that on the back burner when you get real busy. Make sure you make time for these, because it's going to help you when you have those weeks where you need to fill in appointments, or you have no shows or canceled appointments, okay? I'm going to open it up to questions. So if you guys can put it in the, I guess I need to go into the question area here, not the chat, sorry. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. Okay, I do have someone, and I apologize. So we access CSR system. Do you currently use the Premier CRS? Perfect. Just reach out to your regional director and they will do a demo and get you set up. I can't even explain to you how important it is to use this tool. And you'll also have resources that you'll have access to, like the letters, so you won't have to go through your director unless you want to customize them. But you'll have, and that's not the only thing that's on there. You'll have these recorded trainings. There's direct mail pieces. And someone has also asked, oh yes, that's a great question, Lisa. Yes, you will all be sent a copy of the webinar. And also it will actually be, if you are on our CRS system, that will also, there's a folder in there that has all of the recordings in it. So if you ever need to go back to the previous Back to Basics webinars that we've had, you can do that at any time. But you will also be sent a copy. That's a great question, Lisa. And someone also asked me, what does CRS stand for? It's Customer Relationship System is what that stands for. Okay, it doesn't look like I have any more questions. I can't thank you guys enough for joining us on this webinar. And like I just mentioned earlier, you will be sent a copy of the webinar. And if you have any additional questions about anything we went over, please reach out to your regional directors. That's what we're here for all your, any type of support that you need. And I also encourage you to watch for the invitations for the upcoming webinars. We have them every other Tuesday. And we've got some great topics coming up to help you out. And if you need anything else from us, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're here for you. Everybody have a great week. Thank you.